The other common thing with the strong light or even natural light, the images often come very exposed, which makes it difficult later to retouch. An example is this image over here. The chest would be a little exposed, and some of these other images done in a strong sun. Of course, it's not a problem and it's kind of unavoidable, but I'm going to show you a few steps how to actually make it comfortable for the future retouch after we do processing and we start in Photoshop. So I'm going to get this image. Let me just hit done for our previous image, and once again I'm going to hit this, and I'm choosing this image because here we actually have a little bit of the skin work, which is not very common because fashion images are mainly about the clothes, so the amount of work you put into the skin is much smaller than, for example, in beauty retouch. So that's why it's not so common. But in this image, as we can see, we have some of the skin details, so we have to make sure that this image will be comfortable for us to retouch. And the major thing I'm doing at first is actually taking down the highlights, and I'm taking them to the level till I can see the imperfections on the skin. I wouldn't go that far because it actually makes this image looking kind of having this maybe high dynamic range, and later it will not look very nice. So I want to keep the highlights looking natural. But so here is our natural look, so I want to go down and keep this natural look, but I don't want to go over the certain level to make it later really difficult to restore the highlights, and also a little bit of the shadows. So very similar job I'm doing before, and mainly focused actually on the comfort of your retouching. So making sure the image is really comfortable for you to see all of the spots later and retouch. You could also experiment a little bit with the exposure, but I really feel the exposure was rather right for this image, and there is not much to do. So what I was really interested in this image was only shadows and highlights, and the other option was over here we have a lot of white, so we could go down with color white and not as much with highlights, which would give a really natural look, as the highlights on her chest had purely white color, so it's actually not giving this destroyed effect, but actually darkening the whites over here. That allows us to not go as much as possible with the highlights. The other possible thing, this is the thing I always choose, so this working with the basic panel once again, but some other people often instead of going with basic panel would go actually with this other panel where is tone curve. And we can also kind of change the highlights using the tone curve, of course. We could go with down with highlights, of course, here, down with lights, and bring up some of the shadows. But to me, it doesn't really give wanted effects, and it actually makes this image looking washed out, which would cause later work on this washed out parts. That's why what I recommend and what I prefer to use is the basic panel for sorting out every kind of the light issues.